This is a Pyramid One International Network presentation. Hi, and welcome to Pyramid One World Radio. Let me tell you about the host coming up. His name is Dr. Randall George Nozawa. The doctor was blinded after two tragedies. Nozawa's will to live a full life continues undeterred. The doctor is living proof that a person can do everything right, only to suffer horrific events that stymied decades of hard work and left him blind. The two most gruesome tragedies he suffered would make the fire-breathing Godzilla buckle in bitterness, but not Nozawa. He's grateful just to be alive. Nozawa had played high school football in Honolulu and later became a professional bodybuilder. When he moved to Washington State, the crashing came down and foiled all his best-laid plans. It was the first of two tragic events that would change his life forever. Muscle-bound Nozawa enrolled at the University of Washington's dental school, studied hard, and faithfully graduated. Yet years later, after opening a handful of dental clinics, when he could finally afford the lifestyle he had always wanted, a tree came crashing down on him. Dr. George Nozawa says, "I am here to help you make the most out of bad situations. I was brutally harmed by two violent acts and should have died 2 times. I had to lose both of my eyes to see how to teach myself and others how to overcome the worst." Now, I'm sure you cannot wait to hear the doctor. And if anyone wants to get in touch with the doctor, here's a way to get in touch with him. Just email him at Marabelle, Mirabelle Nozawa, Nozawa @gmail.com. Now, let's bring on the doctor. Be the change.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go, Doc. You're
Well,
awesome, but that's all right.
yeah. Well, thank you, and thank you for a wonderful show. And boy, what a February this is, right? And what an interesting 2020 year. But today we've got a very special show, very special guest, because as per the name of the show, Be the Change, she is. And that's why I wanted her on the show, because here you have, what we've experienced this past 2020 year and now is chaos, turmoil, misinformation, and a lot of people reeling in fear and allowing fear to guide their judgment, and most of the population succumbing to it. Okay. But our guest today, extraordinary. And that's why I'm having her on the show, because full of courage, full of leadership, and just to let the worldwide audience know is that, from the ages of 12 to 22, she was sexually assaulted 4 times, and which would have, broken anybody. But what happened there, and we're going to listen to this, is that Sandra made a decision to be more than she was, to take that adversity and turn it into a massive opportunity. And I'm just so pleased and honored to have you on the show, Sandra. So, to tell the Pyramid One audience about you, what happened, and basically your story and what brought you here today. So go ahead and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Okay, my name is Sandra Cooze. I am a victim of child molestation. I'm a survivor of multiple sexual assaults. I'm a survivor of rape, and I'm a survivor of bullying. And I'm still standing.
Okay. I mean, I'm just sitting here and I'm listening to this and I'm saying to myself, my God, that poor woman. You know, think about it. Think about it this way. Have you ever? I mean, and the doc knows my history anyway, which
Yeah.
is so bizarre, it's ridiculous. But when you think of what you went through, what I mean, each one of those phases in your life, you had a totally different um, person. The person changes. It's not that you're just a nasty person, or you're just not thinking about other people and things. You literally change from one stage to the next. What was the thing that brought you to the wall that you smacked into that said, I'm changing my life today?
I don't think it was really one defining moment. It was just by step, not giving up on myself and finding a way to heal. For me, that I just wasn't willing to give up. I mean, I went to see a psychologist after 2 years after the rape, and in hopes to get help because I didn't like the person I had become. But after 1 hour of listening to me, he said, well, I believe you already worked through it all. What am I supposed to do? Yes. So that's when I hit rock bottom. And that was the point where I said, all right, I give up. But the thing is, when you say, I give up, you stop controlling. You let life unfold the way it is. And that's when what you need can really come into your life. And that's what happened. And then from there on out, I started healing.
Yeah, there's a saying that you have to hit the bottom to know what up is.
That's very true. I hit rock bottom so often, I didn't know the bottom was so deep.
Misstep. Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the assaults, there were numerous ones of them over a 10-year period, and here you are, a young teen up until your early 20s. What can you explain, especially to the many thousands of females that are listening in right now? What could you explain to them of how all this transpired and why you?
Well, I can't answer the question why me. I just can't. I have no idea why me, but I guess God had a bigger plan for me. But what transpired? When I was 12, I was taking care of a pony. I loved horses. I was crazy about horses, but we didn't have the means to get me a horse or riding lessons. But my mother made it possible so I could take care of the horse from a friend. And when I did that, the stable master, an older guy in his 60s, he gained mine and my mother's trust. And one day he molested me. So I was lucky that my mother believed in me and she took me out of the situation. But I never received counseling. We never talked about it again. So I was just dismissed in hopes I would forget.
Oh,
And then when I was 14, I grew up in Germany, I should add that, because we went to Austria every year for vacation and we just loved the mountains, the fresh air, the food. We always went to the same hotel. And this is a tradition my grandparents started. So in essence, we were like family in that hotel because we went there like at least once a year. So that hotel owner, he liked to drink welcome shots with the guests. So, and the hotel was always full. So, of course, he was pretty drunk at the end of the night. And he had this vice of wanting to grow women's breasts. Well, the women just endured his advances because he never did anything else. It was never on any other ulterior motive, just feeling up women. So I was 14 and he was coming at me. And I said, no, I don't want you to touch me. But he wouldn't take no for an answer. So I ran away and he kept on chasing me for like half an hour through the hotel. Now, he never touched me, but still it was traumatizing because no matter how much I said no, he wouldn't let off. He didn't stop. My parents came and I ran to my mother. She took me in her arms and in a more jokingly voice said, well, you can't do this to my child. She's too young. She doesn't understand. You don't mean anything by it. So even though my mom tried to defuse the situation, I felt completely dismissed again. Then between the age, from 16 to 17, I was bullied in school. Not just a couple of kids from my class, it was 2 full classes that bullied me for over a year. I told my grandma, and she said, well, just ignore them, they will stop. Well, it didn't stop until a teacher stepped in a year later. So again, I was dismissed, didn't get any help from my family. Then when I was 19, I did my education in hotel business. While I was working in the hotel, and I had to go through every station. And so while I was working in the restaurant, I was sexually harassed by one of the waiters. He came into the changing room when I was changing. Even though I told him to leave, he just stood there, hands crossed behind on his chest, and just smirking and looking at me as I was changing. So couldn't do anything about it. And I knew talking about it to someone else wouldn't bring any change because I never got any help in the first place. So one day I was in a ladies' room and he came in with the phone because my mom called and gave me the phone underneath his stall. Those are things I had to endure in a hotel. Then at 22, I was raped by a friend of mine. And between 19 to 25, I was sexually assaulted 3 times by 3 different men.
Doc, I know what the doc's going to say next.
Yes, I worked through it all. What am I supposed to do? This is the part where everybody's chin just drops. Yep. After all this.
I think, you know what, Doc, I know I'm saying the same thing as she's saying this. I'm like, whoa. But, and you know, the funny thing is that you went to Austria and everything else. I'm 100% German. When I was in Germany, it was great. You go to Frankfurt, and everybody.
That's where I'm from.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yes.
Then every single one of the headstones say Opperman. I really, a friend of mine took me there and he says, you got to see this. So he goes to the thing and he goes, look, you got relatives. And I was like, oh, baby. So, yeah, I mean, the German people over there, and that they are probably the most friendly people on the planet. The food, of course, just like you said. I mean, I was always a slender person, but I went over there and I ate more than my body, I think, in 2 or 3 meals at least. And I did come back fat, so, you know.
Yes, my husband likes my cooking.
I'm serious. I mean, my mother was, forget about it. But anyway, rest her soul. But the thing that we're getting here is we're looking at a pattern, and it's not just you. There are so many women out there. There's not a couple, not 100. There's thousands. They just don't open up. You did.
Yep.
You did to yourself, and then you did to other people because you weren't afraid of talking. That's the thing that I read your whole website. Your whole thing on the website is to open people up and speak about it, talk about it, deal with it. And it's probably the most beautiful thing I've seen a million of these things, but you had the whole package all in one place. And it was like, yeah, this is really, really good. So when you're talking to these people, when someone comes to you and says, okay, look, I definitely need help, what do you tell them?
Well, normally people don't come to me and say, I definitely need help. They usually come to me and say, well, I'm not sure if I have worked through my trauma. So I'm not sure if I've dealt with it or not. Help me. And I say, okay, well, the very fact that you are not sure if you worked through your trauma shows me that you have not. Because if you knew you worked through your trauma, you would know. I mean, I can't explain how happy I feel every day, how free I feel. This is an amazing feeling knowing what I have overcome, and it just doesn't faze me anymore.
No, you feel lighter, right?
Oh, yes, tons.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing holding me back.
One of the things that you do is you're a traumatic incident reduction facilitator.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, do you do this by talking to groups, talking to one-on-one, do it over the Zoom?
I do it. It's a modality that goes one-on-one, and it's probably one of the best kept secret in trauma healing. Because everybody knows EMDR, eye movement sensitization, which is trigger release, but no one has ever heard of TIR. And this is so an amazing modality. It's been around since the 80s. It's evidence-based. And I just see so many amazing transformations in my clients after just a handful of sessions.
It's. I think it's just a second, Taka. I know you got some. I can see it. I see it in your nose. I mean, when your nose decides to go up in the air, I know you got a big question coming. But what I was going to say was, there are so many things that are achieved by the person actually asking for the help, or letting it all out, or telling someone like that. We're opening up another channel, the Hope Channel, where people are going to be able to call in, and they're going to be talking about things like this. They're going to be able to talk about things like this. It's not that we're going to give them help, but the more people that you get that have the same problem, that are coming in on the same Skype or Zoom, they will, somebody will turn around and say, hey, wait a minute, they're in the same place I am.
Mm-hmm.
And they did something about it. How did they do so? You know what I mean? I wanted to start bringing this together. I don't care if somebody calls in and says that the price of salami in the market. You know what I mean? And how come the prices went up? These are all things that push us as humans ahead, to be able to have the ability to love. I mean, real love.
Yes.
There's a lot of things you got to go through to get to that point. And once you get to that point, you stay there.
Mm-hmm.
You're planted there, but you got to get there first. And some of the things that you've been doing as the mediation teacher, holistic designer of jewelry. I mean, you want to bring a new person into the person that's talking to you, one way or the other, whether it's an ornament or a mental mindset, which is like, oh man, I'm telling you, if you have that, you got it all. You got the whole thing, whole sandwich. But as far as some of the things that you were talking about, bullied, I want the doctor to guide you through some of those things now, because that's one thing that got you the assaults to begin with. It's making you feel like nothing, like nobody.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
And then all of a sudden, that person then bullies you into believing that you have to do something because this person says so. I mean, the media does it every day.
Yeah, isn't it?
I'm serious. I mean, indirectly, I mean, we read that stuff, and it goes into our mind, and like for hours you're going, gee, did you read? And then you actually go outside of your shell, which in what you do, I mean, this is similar. You go outside of your shell and you start to tell it, hey, did you see what was on the newsnet this morning? This guy said, and that guy tells somebody else, and that guy tells somebody else. It's like a human Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And it just keeps going and going and going until somebody goes, oh, that's not true. Oh, boy, that's somebody just pulled the plug out of that one. So seriously, I mean, you do miraculous work. Seriously.
Thank you.
Doctor, go.
No, that's incredible stuff. And no, when I was looking over your history, with all the sexual assaults and with the bullying, is many people would have gone the other way. And many have, because I've met quite a few of them, not only in my dental practice, but for people that have been referred to me, and they become, well, they end up choosing that victim role, and they never get out of it. You did. Okay. Was there anything that when you recall back when, that motivated you, that that's not the person you wanted to be, and that there was something greater and bigger that you were meant to do?
Well, there was this one moment, the very defining moment where I started my healing journey. It was a friend of mine who was very spiritual, came by one day, and he saw how miserable I was. It must have been, I don't know, a couple months after I went to see the psychologist. And he stood in front of me, hands on his hips, looking at me with a stern face, and then raising one hand theatrically and say, "Get a quartz crystal already." And I had no idea what he meant.
Yeah.
No idea, like, what? But I did as he asked, because I was like, you know what? I tried everything else. Why not? What's the worst that can happen if I get a piece of rock? So I did that, and he explained to me that I should cleanse it first and then take it to bed with me and just hold it in my hand while I go to sleep. I did, and lo and behold, 3 months later, I was feeling better. I was not healed by any means, but I released so much of that pressure, of that heaviness. I just felt better even though I couldn't explain it. But this was the introduction for me to spirituality and the beginning of my healing journey, because then I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more about energy. I wanted to know more about crystals. But it took a good, 6 years until I met my husband, who's Canadian, and I came over here after we got married, when I was introduced to Reiki. And 3 months later, I was a Reiki master, and I felt like I had come home after a long journey. So this so resonated with me. That's when I started to understand how energy works, how blockages work, how trauma can be held in our body, and how we can release it. So, and then as I did that, and I've been doing Reiki since 2010. Then as I started having clients, I noticed how, of course, I enjoyed the Reiki sessions, but what I enjoyed most was sitting with them after the session. And they just talked and opened up to me, and I knew exactly what they needed to hear to feel better, to shift. And that's how I decided to go into coaching, because I love this interaction and this talking with them. So I studied coaching, and while I studied coaching, I stumbled upon TIR. And so I took that course too. And it all just, the more I learned about trauma, the more I learned from my own journey. Looking back, what I've learned about trauma is incredible. I mean, we think about trauma and we think about what happened, but we never sit back and think, what actually is trauma? If you ask someone, they cannot answer it. Trauma is what happened to me. Well, no, it's not. That's just the story that will never change. But trauma is not the story. Trauma is your body's defense mechanism saying, wait a minute, I felt like this before. I don't want to feel like this ever again. Whenever we're being triggered, this is our protection. That's the trauma. Just the word has, I think the meaning of the word trauma is a little construed from what it actually is. And this is why it's so difficult in the first place to release it, because we don't understand it.
Now, tell us about, I guess, with all this going on for all these many years, of how did your parents react, to you telling them this, and of what was their approach to you, as far as, perhaps keeping you safe, or keeping you, healthy, or guiding you? What did they tell you?
Well, I only ever confided in my mom the very first time when I was 12. And then when I was 14, I was sexually harassed in a hotel. I never really confided in them anymore. I mean, I taught my dad, when I was raped the morning, he just saw it in my face. He knew when he saw me. but he has never really been trying to help me. He just said, okay, like, understood, and I went to my room. But then when I decided to go to the police, I wanted to finally speak up for myself. And I went to my dad for advice, and he said, well, it's going to be you against the whole US Army. Who do you think is going to win? So he wasn't in my corner. And so I never went to the police because I was completely discouraged. And that was pretty much the only time my dad and I really talked about it. So it was never talked about. It was just brushed under the rug. Now, I have to say, my grandfather was narcissistic. And my grandmother died when my father was 16. So he basically grew up with my grandfather alone because his sisters were older and left the house. So he was never taught to speak up. That's his trauma. And so today, as a trauma healer, I understand that he was not able to, from his own trauma, to really be there for me. And my mother the same way. She just did what she could from her perspective, like taking me out of a situation, making sure it's never happening again. But up to this day, we haven't really talked about it. And I really hope that she's not holding on to mother's guilt, because there was nothing she could have done. Because child molesters have to be nice to get close to us and close to the family. So there was nothing she could have done. So when she did what she could, and that was enough. So.
Okay. Now, you've heard of this past study called Adverse Childhood Events, and what you brought new meaning to that, actually, for me, because what a lot of the doctors and therapists out there are saying about that is that these awful traumatic events that happen during childhood is never forgotten, and often stored emotionally, and especially in the periphery, in the myofascia, and there's a trigger to release it, and which case the individual is becomes in constant victim mode when that happens. But what you've done is that you've kind of turned that upside down, and use that for your own personal growth. But with all these many people that you're helping now, and you're on to a new life, and based on all this that's happened to you, what can you suggest to the women out there that and Bob says thousands of people. I say it's millions, and it's millennia long of how females are routinely victimized and abused, and no one says anything about it. And usually, the female doesn't say anything about it either, or if they do, they're like you, just dismissed. Because it's not important, and this is what guys do, things like that. Well, and it's true, because I've heard that before, and and of course, in United States, we always talk about Donald Trump, right? Because well, that's just what the guy does. I said that's no excuse for it. That's inappropriate behavior, and I don't like it. What do you suggest to women? Based on your experiences of when these things start happening to them, or if they're younger, like little girls, what would you suggest to them as far as their mindset and their attitude toward behavior like this?
Well, first of all, yeah, this is not something we should do, enabling men to just be boys will be boys. This is not okay. I mean, this is really, it's been going on for generations. Think about how many generations, centuries back this started, that women have been suppressed and men could do whatever they wanted. So, and now women are starting to change that, and men don't like it. Of course not.
Yeah.
So all I can say to women is take your power back. because everything we want to be, everything, all the courage, the strength we want is within us. That's why we resonate with it. That's why we have the desire, but it's just buried underneath the trauma. And with what I do, the TIR is different from counseling. Now, counseling is the very first important step. Don't get me wrong, but counseling can only take you so far. For some, counseling is enough, and that's wonderful. But those people who come to me, they say, well, I've been years in counseling and I still feel horrible. So they need a different approach. It doesn't mean that a counselor isn't good. It just means that they need something else. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to trauma healing because we all need something different. And TIR is just one other modality. There are people who are not fit for TIR because they're not able yet to go so deep back into their trauma and bring it back up to release it. They're still too much in the victim modality, in the victim mode. They're too encased in the trauma. But the answer is out there. Just don't give up. Take your power back and say enough is enough, and now I'm going to get healing. That's all I can say, because healing happens from the inside. I cannot pull the trauma out of people. They have to allow it to leave. That's when I can help them. Same with therapy. They have to allow the therapist in and release the trauma. It cannot be pulled out. And that's the shift that has to happen. Because people go and look for help. They don't need help, they need guidance to release the trauma that they're holding on to. What I've learned on my journey at one point was that I was holding myself hostage. I held on to the trauma out of fear. Out of fear who I would be without it. Out of fear it would happen again. I mean, after I was raped, I gained a lot of weight to make myself invisible. Now, at some point, I said, okay, I don't like the way I look anymore, so I want to lose weight. But I always sabotaged myself. And I was wondering, hey, why am I doing this? And I remember, it was a few years ago, I looked in the mirror, and I thought, okay, I don't like the way I look, but I feel safe. And then I thought, I pictured myself thin. Oh boy, did I have panic bubble up. Because I was afraid deep down that if I were thin, it would just happen all over again. The rape, the sexual assault, everything, because everything happened when I was thin. For years, I couldn't understand why I was so resentful of beautiful women. Gosh, even my cousins who were the flower girls on my wedding day, and they grew up to be beautiful women. I saw them as adults and I completely resented, almost hated them. I was like, wow, what just happened? And so I was thinking about that, and I realized that I hated the fact that they could be beautiful and thin and didn't have to worry about it. Because for me, being beautiful and thin meant danger. And this is how we have to release trauma. We have to question ourselves. Why do we do the things we do? Why do we just behave like this? And really look at ourselves, analyze, understand the triggers. That's how we release the trauma.
Wow. And I guess with with this show, and then just knowing Bob, and just a lot of the people I know, it's we always put love first, and love, like trauma, kind of hard to define, but it's a feeling, and it's such high energy that it's hard to describe it. But where you come from is a place of love, and that's what you are, and then you share it, and you have these skills now that work for a lot of folks, but to me, all based on love. And I don't know, what you've done with yourself, with your family, and your generation and the generation to come is largely because of the decision you made to put love first, especially in you. Because for a person to get say assaulted once is bad enough, and that's often life-changing. Yours is multiple times, and you bounce back from all of them, and you made the decision to look deeply inside of yourself and to develop your inner world, and thusly who you became, who you've become here. And then you've attracted all the right people along the way, to guide you and help you along in your journey. So besides this life you have now in Canada, with your family, what's in store for you, or what do you look forward to in the future?
Well, for now, I'm extremely excited to have my book come out in a couple of weeks.
Good. Yay.
And yay! Other than
Yay.
that,
Yeah.
I know being happy with my family, seeing my son grow up, and building my dream life. Like really helping people. I mean, it is such rewarding work, to see another person transform right in front of you with the little guidance I give them to really have such quantum changes and really be happy. It's the more you release the trauma, and whenever I see this in my clients, it's amazing how much they change from session to session, how brave they become in doing things that terrified them, even if it was as much as just taking a step outside their door. After they start working with me, to see it's amazing. I just can't describe it. I love helping people, and I hope that I can do this for the rest of my life, because there is nothing better than knowing you released everything that happened to you and you built the most beautiful life for yourself simply because you can.
That's beautiful. Now, for our 7.8 billion out there, we all need to be more connected, and even more so now. And you're already doing that with everyone, and based on where you came from. Now, for your family, your husband and your son and all, do they know what happened to you? And have you ever talked about that as a family?
Well, my husband knows some of it, not
Okay.
everything, but once he reads my book, well,
Well, he's gonna have
I
to read your
very,
book first, though.
well, he doesn't have to, but we never really talk about it. I mean, he does know some because
Okay.
he knows what I do. He knows a little bit of my journey. He doesn't know details. He doesn't know
Okay.
how often or how much.
Yeah.
And because I didn't feel the need to tell him.
Okay.
But when I first talked to him about it, his reaction was amazing. He looked at me, came over, and just gave me the biggest hug ever. And for the first time, I felt I was not alone. I never got this
Beautiful.
hug from my parents. He
So,
was just there holding me. So, to all those women who know they have a good man in their life, don't be afraid to tell him. Tell him, allow him to be there for you. This is what I can say, because it's so much better if you know you have someone in your corner.
yeah.
And my son, well, no, he doesn't know what happened to me, but I started talking to him about consent when he was 4 years old, so that he knows if anyone should ever do something, come to me. I'm here. So I prepare him for in case, because this happens way too often. And this can happen to anyone. So I started talking to him, age appropriate, about the right and wrong ways of a touch. And that when someone says, we keep this a secret, oh no, we don't keep secrets from mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
So things like that, and come to us when he's uncomfortable and tell us, and we take care of it. I wish I had that. Now, I'm sure my mom tried her best, but it is sad that we really have to go through sexual assault ourselves to know what we want our children never to experience. This should be conversation at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Because this happens way too often. We can't prepare our children in a compassionate way. This empowers them to know they're not alone, to know they don't have to keep this silent or that they're doing something wrong. Heck, when I came home from the stables, I was terrified of telling my parents because I thought I did something wrong. Or if not, I knew it was wrong, it felt wrong. I didn't know what happened, but I knew it felt wrong, so I didn't like it. And I knew when I did something wrong, I had to face the consequences. So what would be my consequences then if I told them what happened? But I did tell my mom, luckily. And so she could take care of it. But then I was just, I wouldn't say ignored, dismissed, but it was never talked about again.
Mm-hmm.
When in fact I would have needed so much more. I asked my mom later why we never went to the police. And she was like, well, I didn't want you to go to court and have to talk about it all over again. But I was like, I was 12. This was my body. I should have had a say in it. That's another thing. It's your child's body. Ask your child what your child wants to do. So.
No. Now, in your book, do you have a chapter or a section on what you just talked about here?
Yes and no. This is most likely going to be my second book because it's a trilogy.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
yes,
if it's not, then you need a second book.
No, yes, I do. It's going to be 3. Don't worry. It's in the works.
Oh, good. I'm glad, because this is so needed and necessary, because, I've throughout my career, I've studied, a lot of psychology and a lot of abnormal psychology and a lot of stuff like that. But when it comes down to personal experience like you have, there's no explanation for these kind of things. Psychology likes to describe things and come up with postulates of, it might be this, it might be that. I say, well, what is it? And so yours is, you experienced it, you went through it. And you came out of this, the experienced stronger version of you, but you're doing so much good, not only for you and for your family, but for all these other people. And so anyway, you answered my question, because I said, well, with all what we talked about, you need more books, because we as a people need to know this kind of stuff, because hominins, Homo sapiens, us, we can do the very best of anything. We can create, we can do, but what we can also do the very worst. We can destroy, we can kill, we can maim, and history proves that. And so a leader like you, a courageous one that's founded on love, one, we need more of you. And then that message needs to be taught, because this happens so frequently, and it's almost like, another female, it happens all the time. Oh, that kind of stuff, child trafficking, all this things. Yeah, that's the way it goes. Oh, it's too bad for them. I said, well, we have to do something about it. If good is going to prevail, if good is going to win, we've got to do something about it. We can't just say, oh, someone else will take care of it. Well, no, that's up to us, as a species, before we go extinct, or before we just consider this like normal. It's not normal. This is not normal behavior, and nothing to do with love. And so what you're doing, I think, is so valuable and so important. So yeah, I can't wait for your book to come out, and all the sequels to come after that. And have you ever thought of also putting together a program, for just younger children, adolescents, or teenagers, on this topic, and maybe get into the school system up in Canada?
I have played with the idea, but so far I have not felt ready for it. So it's something that I always grow into. It's like one step after another. Yes, I'm very passionate about children and sexual assault and talking about it in schools. I went to my son's kindergarten teacher a few years ago and asked him if they teach this in school. And he was like, no, we teach that like in 6th grade. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was 12. That was long before 6th grade hit. And I was like, the children need to know from an early age where they can go, what they can do. What if the parents are the ones that abuse them? Where do they go? The teachers should be number one where they can go to, and the teachers guide them towards where they need to go next. But it's not just in Canada, it's everywhere. Yeah. And this is so sad, because the youngest of us are the most vulnerable. So yes, it's definitely in the back of my mind. I'm very passionate about that. And I guess I will just have to grow into that. Okay. So right now I'm helping more the parents to heal their trauma so they can empower their children and be there for them. But I don't think I'm ready to help children directly, because that's a whole new level. And I want to be ready for that.
But the parent is very close to the child.
Yes, the parent I can help.
Therefore, by training the parent correctly, the parent will train the child, because now the connection's already there. So the child will listen.
Yes. But what if the parent is the issue? then I can't help the parent because the parent won't see anything wrong with their behavior. That's the other side of it. I can help those parents who want to release their trauma for the sake of their children, so that they don't go through it, so that they don't carry it on, so that they don't have to live in fear as the parents do.
Doctor, that's like detoxing the parent.
No, it's true, and that's a problem in itself, because you have the authority figure that is toxic, and so what do you do then? Because they're in charge of the home, and this youth that is so dependent on them, like Sandra, you're dependent, like we all are, on our parents. Now, going back to your when you're went to see the psychologist and all that, and I've noticed this with counselors, your psychologists, psychiatrists, and all that, and when that they're trained in a certain way, but tell us how their training can be made or expanded or made differently or modified, so they're, well, you can't really teach it, but where they can be more either empathic or better listeners, or those that can be there to offer more support, because they've got this head full of education, but at least for this one guy you saw, it didn't help, and it actually made things worse. And so you're going to this expert going, oh my gosh, I can finally, then going, oh wow, I feel worse now than before I got here. So can you kind of give some clarity to that, or maybe some options of how the profession can better itself, so to be more effective? Because like you, there are thousands, millions that probably go see these professionals. They go, okay, whew, I can finally talk to someone. And often it doesn't turn out well. And when you think you've seen the best of the best, then you go, well, now what? My parents don't know, and this guy or these people don't know. Now what? And then from there, it makes you feel more alone and more by yourself. And I think that might intensify the pain, or just the aloneness. So you have any suggestions for that?
Yes. First of all, counselors, psychologists, they have to heal their own trauma. I have had multiple clients who said, I triggered my counselor. I had to counsel my counselor. God. And then of course the client feels, okay, not even my counselor can handle my story. If the counselor can't help me, who can help me then? If this is too much to handle for them, who can help me?
Yeah.
So in my profession, aside from the fact that I've healed everything, we are trained not to get triggered no matter what. In TIR, we're trained not to get triggered, so that the person who comes to us feels safe to talk about it, to really allow it to come forward and release it. If I would sit there and I would get triggered, oh my goodness. I had one of my clients, she has always very intense reactions with trauma. She constantly throws up. This is her way of releasing. It's intense. Not everyone does that, luckily. But for her, this is how she releases. One time, we hit upon a subject that rendered her speechless for 15 minutes. She tried to talk, she was not able to. It was a blockage that came up. What do you think would have happened if I had freaked out? I had no idea what to do, but I stayed calm because I was trained for exactly this. And we continued the session, but she had to writing down what she saw in her mind. And I guided her through it. It took us 15 minutes, but then the trigger was gone and she was talking, and she is still totally in shock over this after months, but we did it only because I was trained to stay calm. Counselors, psychologists, they need this. They need to heal themselves first and then really help other people.
That was the speed bump on the road.
Yes.
That's exactly what that was, because it's the part of the person that she or he don't even know it's there.
Exactly.
They have no idea. Whatever you said triggered it. When it was triggered, the person then realizes, hey, there's something wrong. Then they find the right part of it. And that's what you're talking about here. I mean, it's an art to bring these people to this point. It really, really is. I mean, you can't just be anybody walking down the street, although we do a lot on the radio. But you should hear the phone calls that come to the end. Another story.
Yeah.
But the idea of the thing is, people all have a button. There is a panic button somewhere on everybody. I don't care who they are. Everybody that's walking, they have something somewhere in the back of their mind that they don't relate to in real life, in real time. And when you hit that button, it's all of a sudden like, bam, they see the whole, know what was messing up their mind or messing up their lives, in a sense. And if they get to that point, the rest is easy. It's there. You're running downhill.
Yeah. But yeah, counseling and psychologists have to heal their own trauma. And then stop looking at the books so much. I mean, I was considering going into social work. But then I was like, you know what? If I'm working from the perspective of a social worker, I have to follow a certain guideline of how to help people. If I'm a coach, I can design my sessions to what my clients actually need, what will actually help them.
Individually, yes.
Yes, exactly. And my programs, there have trauma healing and have coaching. And the coaching is always designed to what they specifically want. If they want to be able to share their story, we work on them designing their story, writing it out so that they can share them the way they want to. Or if they want to learn about spirituality, we do coaching spirituality. If they want to be more setting boundaries or helping their relationship, whatever they need, we will put into the coaching. And so I don't like the word now what. I don't like that. I eradicate that in my work. I don't stop until every now what is gone. And they know that they can do it on their own. And that's why I love being a coach. Because I have the freedom to design everything for my client. And don't have to follow a textbook.
Well, I think you've opened up a new field because the word coach means exactly that, and you'll hear that in athletics. More so, but now, and especially in the changes that our world has gone through, that there are more coaches, like you out there, for various things. But what a coach means is, not only the teaching and guiding, but also the empathic listening and being there and individualizing whatever program to that person, because we all have energetic blocks somewhere. We all have something that triggers us, and it's all very different, all the way from our gut microbiome to our nutrition to our past and our belief systems and all that. And what you do is you've taken that word or concept of coach and turn it into just something very thorough and complete, because we're all different. And yes, there is no one size fits all, because if that was the case, you're going to have 90% of the people fall through the cracks and go, geez, this worked for Fred, how come? What's wrong with you? And from there, now that they're left with this awful taste, and it's and back to the loneliness. Wow, I saw her and she's like all the rest, and I'm worse off now, and I paid her to be worse off. Oh, good grief, So what you've done to personalize things and to update. Actually, I think the psychology profession is just remarkable, because it needs that. Because after I went through the blind training and all, I enrolled in graduate school in counseling psychology, and it's this memorization of things. And you're exactly right. All my classmates, they're there because of their unresolved trauma. And during the breaks, or when the professor would leave for something, or it'd be lunch break, you can hear everyone, I hate him so much, I wish he were dead. boy, if I'm sure hoping this is going to help me clear up my issues, because man, I would just like to beat the crap out of him. And I'm listening to this going, and then, from there, the folks that were remaining in the class, they would turn to me, goes, you're listening to this, right? I go, well, I'm blind, I'm not deaf. I'm listening to all of you. And boy, I'm hoping you're just not memorizing this kind of stuff and taking this to heart, because you folks have to heal, and they're going to call you counselors or something one day, and you're not healed yet, and so that makes you, I think, puts you in a very precarious place, because I don't think you can be your best counselors when you've got these hot triggers. So you bring up valid points that these people have got to heal themselves, and I think that needs to be worked into the the curriculum there at school, because just having sat through these many classes with these people, I'm going, oh gosh, you guys are going to be counselors. I sure hope I don't say the wrong thing to you, because you're going to unload on me. And so anyway, I think that's such a valid thing, and what you bring is also, I think, radical change to the counseling profession, because we all have triggers, and you kind of wonder why people go into counseling
Mhm.
and where they're at and things. So, uh, so what's ahead of you now? I mean, you have your book coming out, and I'll ask you this now: is any of it in audio version, so I can listen into it?
It is planned, not yet though,
Okay.
but it's in the works. Yes.
Yeah, no, please. And my braille skills are so slow, and just gotta to give you perspective is that when I went through the blind training, and I got a kind of like a graduation gift. It was a TV guide in braille. It was the thickness of a phone book.
Oh
I'm
my.
go, oh,
Wow.
good grief. I said, well, thank you, I think. And I suppose I'm not going to watch any TV anymore, but if I had to read through all this, it'd be kind of crazy. So, yeah, I'm into the audio, these days for books, and I read quite a lot, online, but your book is just fascinating to me. And I'd want to get through that, and also be prepared for the second and third editions that I think would just be so valuable, because I still do a lot of coaching myself, and anything that I can learn I always pass on, because I'm basically a reporter of things, and people all have their different problems that they want to solve, and thanks to the internet, I get to talk to people from all over the world, and we all have the similar problems. And it's just a matter of getting down to root causes, and finding their hot triggers and things. And so what you've done is just very incredible and remarkable, because you've elevated basic psychology to a different level, and healing to a very high level, and all because of what happened to you. So yeah, I'm glad you're on the show here, and that this Pyramid One audience, it's in 132 countries, so we got a lot of people listening to you, and I would like to all these people to grab your book, because a lot of them need help, and like what happened to you, there's not a lot of people to talk to, and not a lot of folks that will even understand where you're coming from. And so your value based on the traumas that happened to you uh, has brought you here, and that has created this incredible leader that you are, and then you get to share all that. And for me, it's all based on love, and just the unconditional, just deathless power that love has, and you reflect that with who you are, and who your family is, and all the people uh, that you help. So glad you're on the show.
Thank you.
And well, you're just I don't know, you exude high energy, and that love energy, and you took the worst of what our humankind can do, and you transformed that into a massive opportunity. that helps so many people. So I don't know, Sandra, you're awesome, and just thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I
Before
can say,
I was
Go
going
ahead.
to say that before you go, you did not mention the name of the books before.
that's very
I
I,
forgot. Yeah,
so
there you go.
seriously, I mean, I'm looking at them here and I'm saying, no, come on, she's got it. She's got to say it. She's got to say it.
Yeah, of
We're
course.
right over.
I never asked. Okay, yes.
So, all right, what's one?
So the name of my book is Journey to Yourself, How to Heal from Trauma.
Oh, okay.
Now, Journey to Yourself is the trilogy, and book 1 is How to Heal Your Trauma. Book 2 is going to be How to Unbecome Who You Were Taught to Be, where we talk about, upbringings, also bullying at work, and how to really get rid of all those limiting beliefs, self-sabotaging behavior, triggers that come from core values, like really go into detail about relationships, everything that defines us, and how we can get out of that. And the last,
I would
sorry.
wait before you go any further. I would recommend that whoever does your publishing publishes information to every single teacher in North America on that book, because that book, what she's talking about, with all that connected to the bullying part, and this is something kids need. Not the things that they're telling everybody that they're going to show kids in school. I mean, if you're going to be a trans or something like that, they're going to teach kids all about it. Somebody should send them to counselors.
Yeah.
But the book that you're talking about, if the actual teachers could read a book like that and get it through their minds, this is how we have to help these kids. I'm telling you, it would make a different world.
Yeah.
I agree. I'll make sure I finish it this year.
Oh, yay. Now, what was what was the third one? The
The
third.
third one is How to Become Your True Self.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So where we take everything that I ripped apart in the first 2 books and put it together, so we can really embrace who we are and really build ourselves up, follow our dreams, build our life. So it's like the journey to yourself, like the whole journey in 3 books.
That sounds like, doctor. That sounds like the thing that I say all the time about going into the bathroom, look in the mirror, look in your eyes. I mean, really, really look into your eyes, and say, "I love you."
Yeah.
And if you do,
Pono.
exactly, if you right, exactly, the portal to the heart and the mind. And when you do that at the same time, somebody actually called me back after I said it on the show. She actually tried it. A month later, she called me back and she said, "Bob, it really, really worked, man. I tell you, it's unbelievable that. What can I do?" I said, "Well, there's one more step." She goes, "Well, what's the step?" I said, "Go back to the same mirror you went to the last time. Look in the mirror and say, 'I am.'" I
That's
said,
powerful.
"Take it all back. It's you. You are the love." She did that. She had, I don't know how many people that have called me or written me or anything else in that, because somebody forgot something somewhere and they said, "Well, what did you say to, this one?" So I actually have it on Word. So all I have to do is copy and paste it. Thing.
Yep.
No.
But
No, I actually have mirror work in my first book too,
Oh, good. Oh, okay.
among other things. All
Yeah.
about trauma healing.
Well, I vote for an audio version selfishly for me. So
It is in
tell
the
your
works, yes.
tell your publisher, please.
I will. I will
'Cause,
say you requested it.
no, it's so important. And like Bob was saying, something like this needs to go out to every school and every teacher, out there, because far beyond the 1+1 kind of stuff, and all the mere facts out there, that this is life, and to master it, you got to know about it, and know that you're not alone, and then really know that love does really count and comes first,
Yes.
and so boy, well, I don't have any clout in that direction, but the more teachers that get a hold of this, and the more schools that get a hold of this, and this can be an entire curriculum, and this is how you change a society, with stuff like this, and all stemming from what happened to you,
I would
and
say,
all that you've learned and all that you've become. So Yeah.
I
The more the merrier.
I would say send one to a Board of Education for every one of the counties, the County Board of Education. Send one book there. Then send one book to every principal in every school. And then with that book, put down a list of books, of how many do you want more? And watch. I mean, every single one of them. There'll be teachers in the place, and that once the principal reads it, he'll turn around and tell the rest of the faculty about the book, and they'll say, "Yeah, where can I get one?"
Yeah.
And I'm serious. It's
a big seller. Yeah.
Sometimes the best things are hidden because people don't stick it right in their face. Something like this is so good. Once you stick it in the first face, the rest he'll go or she'll go and stick it in everybody else's face real quick. And it's good. We need something like this. The whole world is looking for something like this.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Hey, Sandra, you're part of the We Got It group.
Okay, now I'm being afraid. That's a big pressure.
Well, there you go. Where can everybody get in touch with you, Susan? Sandra, sorry.
That's okay. I like Susan.
She, Doc, she looks like somebody we had on the show before. Susan, somebody, I forget, or maybe it was one of my shows. You could be almost twin sisters.
Interesting. I don't have one. Well, I have a sister, but not a twin.
She's from, I think it's either Arizona or California, one of the two.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go. So where can they get in touch with you?
Okay. Well, people can find me on my website at riseaboveyourstory.com. Then you can find me on Facebook under the same name and everywhere else under Sandra Cooze. Whether you look LinkedIn, Clubhouse, Instagram, YouTube, I started my YouTube channel. It's all Sandra Cooze. Very easy.
There you go. Doc, tell everybody that they can get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with Sandra.
No, you kind of alluded to that earlier. My email, please, and it's the mirabelle.nozawa@gmail.com. The Mirabelle is my the middle name of my youngest daughter. And people say, well, why don't you change that and make it more professional? Well, I like that name.
It's
and
beautiful.
Yeah, and so to me, that's professional, and I love my little girl. And so mirabelle.nozawa@gmail.com. Please contact me, and if you want to do that, I can contact Sandra, but she's such a wealth, and she's taught me so much already, so I want to know more. So please contact me.
Well, there you go. We got all kinds of things that happen on the show with the Dr. Randall George Nozawa, and of course his guest, Sandra Cooze. To know more, he just told you how to write to him. Get in touch with the doctor. Get in touch with Sandra. And by the way, she's also got to just look up her name, Susan Cooze. You'll go right to the website. When you get on the website, it's amazing. You got to be there. So till then, God bless y'all. Bob Charles.